Everyone knows Spartacus, the rebel gladiator who defied Rome. But what if I told you that some of the fiercest warriors who ruled the Roman arenas came from Africa? Enslaved Africans were dragged across deserts and seas, sold in Roman markets, not only as laborers, but as weapons of spectacle. Rome's empire thrived on blood sport, and the Colosseum was their theater of death. In these arenas, African fighters faced lions, tigers, and Rome's finest warriors. They were trained, armed, and thrown into battles where survival meant glory. Some became legends, feared for their strength, cheered for their skill. Their victories could earn wealth and even freedom. For a slave, this was the closest path to power. Records mention them as Ethiopian gladiators. They stood out not just for their origins, but for their dominance. Crowds admired them. Even emperors wagered on their fights. Yet their real names were rarely written down. Rome celebrated its own heroes, while these African champions were reduced to shadows in history. Their blood built Rome's greatest entertainments. Their courage filled the empire's hunger for spectacle. But when the dust settled, their stories were erased, their victories forgotten. When you hear the word gladiator, you probably think of Spartacus. But what if I told you there was another warrior from Africa who fought with such power that Romans whispered his name in fear? Memnon. Memnon wasn't just a slave thrown into the arena, he was a symbol. Inspired by the legendary Ethiopian king of the same name, he fought not just men, but beasts, champions, and even Roman-trained killers. Unlike Spartacus, who led a rebellion, Memnon conquered his enemies one by one inside Rome's blood-soaked Colosseum. Ancient records describe African gladiators like him as fearless, skilled, and physically unmatched. Crowds roared when Memnon stepped into the sand. His shield carried African sun symbols. His blade struck with precision, and his victories made him more than just entertainment. He became a legend, but here's the tragedy: Rome glorified Spartacus, the rebel who shook its empire, while Memnon's story was buried. His name lingers only in fragments of history, erased by the same empire that once celebrated him. Why? Because he was African. His victories couldn't be allowed to overshadow Rome's own myth. So next time you hear about Spartacus, remember Memnon, the African gladiator who ruled Rome's deadliest stage. His name may be forgotten in the textbooks, but in the dust of the Colosseum, Memnon fought like a king.